Hello and welcome to the absolute game of nerds with your non-geek, non-nerd hosts JP and Rohan. And this is our 20th episode, we believe. We're counting in order, I think, and we got it right this time. Our 20th episode, so that's a milestone. And for this milestone today, we're going to talk cards with Fausto from Sketch Card Hive. I'm going to let Rohan give him a proper introduction.
So we have Fausto of Sketch Card Hive on with us tonight. I first came across him, again, kind of another connection through Justin from Spidey Hits and Manu from the 9.9 Newsstand. I've seen him on their show, Spidey Hits. I obviously glommed onto his feed because Fausto, I think I'm a big Silver Surfer fan. Fausto is about the cream of the crop when it comes to Silver Surfer fans. Yeah, he's got the shirt on and everything. And which is would be very cool to talk about, which we'll get to, is he is the head Marvel card consultant at CGC. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
That's awesome.
But Fausto, say hello. How you doing?
Hey, everybody. So thanks again for having me on. I'm so excited to hang out with you guys and talk some Marvel cards, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. So we always kind of start with just kind of an origin story. So why don't you start with yours? Did it start at childhood, later in life? Did you pick back up? Did you drop off? Kind of give us the spiel here, and obviously that involves your love of Surfer, and let's hear it all.
Yeah. Man. So I was born in '85, so kid of the '90s. So very much like Marvel cards were everywhere. So I'm definitely one of those kids where just like you go to the mall, vending booths instead of cell phones and some shady stuff. It'd be Marvel cards and singles, right? That they would overcharge moms for their kids that wanted them really badly.
Where did you grow up, by the way? Where did you grow up?
Oh, sorry. So I'm from Miami, Florida, actually.
Okay.
Originally. So I'm living in North Carolina now, but originally from Miami, Florida. Which every card collector's from Florida. I don't know how that started, but for some reason, there's like always like a flock of them there. But yeah. So I started collecting cards. So I was 7 when I started when I first got into like comic books and stuff like that, and kind of fell in love with the Surfer real quick, and it was just an awesome moment. Like, I don't know, like it was kind of crazy. It was the 1992 Marvel Universe cards with the power ratings in the background,
Yes.
and then Silver Surfer, and it was just phenomenal. And I guess I really got in tune with the Surfer because my sister has severe autism. So like growing up was very different and stuff like that. So like Surfer was more like of a thinker, philosophy kind of to himself, and a little bit of introvert. And I immediately connected with that character because it was a lot of, instead of actiony kind of stuff, it was very kind of like, let's figure this out. Let's try to figure out how we move past this kind of stuff. And it was very peaceful kind of thing. And I saw that card and I saw the Surfer, and it was immediately done for me. And so I had been picking up cards here and there and picking up collectibles and all that stuff. And it wasn't until I had a collection like all of us when we were kids and collecting, not in very good shape. And then around, 2011, 2013, maybe, it was just like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to go ahead and start doing this the right way. And I'm going to get every Silver Surfer card. And I just did it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go to A to Z from his very first to his very last. I'm just going to keep up with it and go down this road. And then all the craziness happened. And I sold off my Surfer books. I sold off Surfer statues, the Bowens. I did all that. I sold off all my other Surfer collectibles and just saved what little money I had to do the Silver Surfer Master character collection the correct way. And I just been doing that ever since, and did the podcast for Marvel cards, kind of been around, consulted with Upper Deck, and then I got hit up by CGC to help them with Marvel cards, and that was really exciting. So I'm doing that with them now, just to make sure all the things are labeled correctly. And there's just a lot of Marvel cards people don't know about. So many like secret gems that people are still not even collecting.
Yeah, no, and I definitely want to get into that. We'll get, as we keep talking, there's a lot of questions I have regarding that. And just like I've told this story before, but Faust and I have bonded because our love of Silver Surfer essentially originated exactly the same. His was the 1992 card. Mine was actually the 1991. I remember walking to school in 4th grade and my friend Jeremy handed me this card and I was like, who is this? And then I flipped it over. Same thing. I saw those power ratings and I was blown away, and he's been my favorite ever since. So that just hits
I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's so good, dude, because like I don't think people realize how many comic book fans emerged first from the cards in the 90s. I don't think people realize.
Yeah, we've talked about this because so almost everyone we've had on this show. So I was born in 83. JP's a little older than me. So we're all almost everyone we've had on this show is kind of in this kind of generation. And so we kind of grew up in the 90s. And almost all of us are like, those cards are what brought us into Marvel. And you tell me it was like, you know, Spider-Man's been around since the 60s and it's 2023 now, but you can just by having a handful of cards and reading the synopsis on the back, you could get the whole comprehensive history. And so it's like, that's where all of my main knowledge of Marvel came from, was those cards.
I mean, that same, like all my X-Men knowledge, all my Spider-Man knowledge, if it wasn't in the cards, I eventually would read about it later on, but it all stemmed from the cards and of course the animated TV show. But that was that's my, like most people, right? X-Men look a certain way because of that cartoon and the cards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Were you going to say something, JP?
No, I just I more or less was comic, and because I was also a baseball card collector, when I found those Marvel cards, it was like bridging the gap between those two hobbies of mine. And then again, like you said, those I have one, you know, a couple in front of me, but those power ratings are how you knew who could beat who and how fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I was always in somewhat drawn to the cosmic characters, even though Spider-Man and Punisher were my favorite, and of course Wolverine. But the fact of that some characters could travel the speed of light, I thought was just crazy to even think of. And so I always liked, and I got Quasar was a guy I thought was pretty cool, but he had no strength, but he could fly at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, man, give him like a 2 rating so he can actually beat somebody up. He was a 1.
There are a couple cosmic characters that are like that strength of 1, but then 7 on the speed. Like there's another one, like is his name Epoch? He's like a little alien kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the same thing. And it's just like, yeah, there's a couple of those cosmic characters like that.
Are you ready for this? This is crazy. So this is a nutty story. We interviewed Bob Budiansky, who is the creative director of Marvel. In Marvel, he was a creative director, and they handed him Marvel cards in 1990, and they said, "Make cards." All the cards from 1990, he just went around the Marvel bullpen and handed people boards and said, "Draw me this character, draw me this character." That's why Wolverine from Jim Lee is in the 1990 Marvel Universe set. They made up all the power ratings completely. They looked up some things. You know, they had that encyclopedia back in the day where you see the 3 figures of the character in different poses. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they just looked all that stuff up and just started making up stuff. So like you have all these weird number changes because they're like, well, if he's a 10 here, we got to knock him down. Well, 7, because I think 7 was the highest at the time. We got to knock him down a little bit. So like that's why you have all that stuff.
A perfect example of that was on Series 2, the 1991, Thanos is a strength 7. And then if you go to the 1992, Thanos is a strength 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely did some revisements.
I was wondering about that because I always checked that because anybody who was an X-Men and then had the X-Men, the Jim Lee cards that came out, I don't know what year that was. And I was like, is that the same? Are they all the same? Did they keep it in line and all that? So I guess I didn't realize. I'll have to check that Thanos dropped down because he was a 7 in speed, I think. And then stamina, he was a 7.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, he's like some of these, I wish Justin and I talk about this all the time, like going back and be like, all right, what was the top one? I think he even did a video. I'm sure we were talking about it. He did a video or something like that, but there has to be someone out there with like 4 7s or 3 7s, but I feel like he might have been one of the highest, most powerful characters, I think. Something crazy like that. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Or Silver Surfer. The Hulk had the stamina, the speed, or not the speed, but the strength.
Durability.
Wasn't it intelligence really small?
And no, Hulk's was high intelligence as Bruce Banner.
All right, so Thanos, when they revised the card, this one.
Yes.
Series 2. It says he was a strength is 6, speed is 6, and fighting ability was a 4. But if you watched Endgame, he kicked everyone's ass. So
exactly. He kicks the Hulk's ass, which according to those power, it definitely doesn't make sense. And I was gonna say real quick, I remember I was disappointed because in Series 2, it was like strength, intelligence, durability, stamina, and speed. And I may be missing something. But then in Series 3, and then in the X-Men Series 1, they switched them out, and they had fighting ability, they had energy projection, mental powers.
projection.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember when I looked at the Silver Surfer card when I got it, I flipped it over, and it was like full strength, full speed, full energy projection, but that's in fighting ability. It was like 2. And I was like, oh, come on, man.
bad.
And it's like, I get it. Like the fighting ability was like a base of like hand to hand. I was like, Surfer ain't gonna hand to hand anybody. He's gonna blast you out the like. I mean, give him some
You're
more
gonna
to
waste his
do.
time ground level.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's gonna? People that had fighting ability at 7 were Wolverine and I think Captain America.
Yeah, Wolverine, Captain America. I think Cable also was up there.
Assassin characters mostly, from what I remember, right? Like Daredevil.
Yeah, maybe Deadpool was up there.
Street level characters had pretty good fighting ability, from what I remember back in the day.
And if you remember on the Series 3, there's a section of just cosmic beings, and all of them would have full 7s fighting ability 1.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty good though. I mean, if you're making that stuff up and you're going through the logs and you have like good comic book knowledge, which all of them did, I can understand why they would be like, well, they wouldn't have to be in a fight because they could do this. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool.
Right. I mean, some of those things didn't matter. The intelligence for some of them, like Reed Richards was a 7, but he was a 1 in strength and, had no agility and no fighting ability, but, he was smart and that's all that mattered. Right.
That's all that mattered. That's all it took.
Yeah. So real quick, I just want to pull you two. So there's the Series 2 has power ratings, Series 3 has power ratings. The X-Men Jim Lee Series 1's card have power ratings. Those are like the 3 main sets of cards with the Series 1 that I grew up on. I personally think the Series 2 had the best visual display of the power ratings, like the bar chart. Series 3 had kind of like the laser beams almost, and then like X-Men had that like linear graph. I think like Series 2, I thought Series 2 is the best.
I agree.
It's not this one. You don't think this one's the best?
No, that's Series 3. Yeah, so that one I think
not
is
the lasers.
best.
You like okay,
I like the bar chart.
I like this one.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Bar chart's good. Yeah, I like the laser beams. I actually recreated like a crazy person because I was bored. Recreated this whole thing for a playmat.
So, yeah, like you showed me that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that looks great when you on your like Instagram photo and you put like the card on that and then take a photo. It looks fantastic.
It was fun, but it was crazy town. I don't know why I did that, but I just had to do it.
Was it?
I don't know what it was.
Did I miss? I don't know if I saw that. What was it again?
Basically, I recreated the back of the card for a giant playmat because I wanted it to. Because you scan the card and you can get a high res image, but you're going to get the print dots. It's not going to look right. So I just digitally recreated everything. The numbers, look for the close fonts. I did the whole craziness. I don't know why. You have to understand, collecting the Surfer is like a slow burn because he was banned. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't in cards after 14.
14?
13.
Why was he banned?
The Fox properties, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he was gone. A bunch of all the Fantastic Four properties were basically gone. I think Nightcrawler was gone. I think Nightcrawler's still gone. Like it was just a bunch of stuff that was knocked off the card thing. So it was like completely dark for me, but I was backlogging. I was collecting everything at a crazy pace and going, taking the time to go back and not spend crazy money. But I was bored.
That's the reason why those cards are now rare. Like that's
So like Surfer, a lot of people collect PMGs. Those are not the most expensive cards in the world. They become expensive because of people getting excited about them and stuff. But that's why he only has 1 PMG and Spider-Man has like 7.
Yeah, I saw a green Silver Surfer Spider-Man or Silver Surfer PMG. It was like $12,000. I was like, oh my god.
I was offered something stupid. I probably should have taken it, but I couldn't do it at the time.
Oh, nice. You got it. Yeah, of course you got it.
This took 6 years to get though. Like this is stupid 6 years to get. And I didn't spend 12,000. I couldn't, that's not going to happen. But I was able to grab it for, I think 25, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's still, it's a stupid amount of money. But what's good is though, like, this is like, I think in my collection, I'm only missing 2 cards. And I have pretty much every other Silver Surfer ever done.
Yeah. So real quick before that. So JP, I want to explain. So Fausto made that playmat that is the recreation of the back of that Series 3 card. So if you go to his Instagram when he has a post of some of his cards, he lays the card on the playmat and then takes the picture. So it has like a cool background behind the
Okay.
card, right? So that's what he uses it for. So it looks really nice if you look on his feed. It looks really clean. So that's what that is. Okay, sorry, I cut you off there, Fausto.
No, not at all, man. Not at all.
Yeah. So okay, so you said it took 15 years to collect every card. How did you even like? Was there a database when you started about like what every card was, or how did you research that?
That was a lot of work. So, so back in the day, all the Marvel card collectors, back in the day, like 1999, right? So you have to remember, in 1997, Flare Ultra Spider-Man came out. Right now, Flare Ultra Spider-Man was the very first set to have sketchographs. And these sketchographs were drawn by hand-drawn cards that they would be inserted in boxes, not one in every box, but one in every like case, basically. It was really rare. But you would get a hand-drawn card of a really spectacular artist who drew something. You know what I mean? And that would be something people went after. So all of a sudden, Marvel cards wasn't just like a thing from the 90s that was overprinted, which I would argue it was never really overprinted. There was a lot of demand and a lot of discardment. There's just not a lot of tens anyway. But in 97, all these guys and women who collected comic book original art were like, wait a minute, I can get a Tom Palmer sketchograph card of him drawing Spider-Man on card drawn. I don't have to wait in a line at a con. I don't have to look for original art. I can just get like a $90 box, $50 box and possibly get one. I'm in. It created collecting on a whole different level for Marvel card collectors. And back in the day, that stuff was like on the Yahoo groups back in the day, right? Where basically, yeah, it was crazy. So basically, someone would open tons and tons of boxes, and then every collector would get faxes of all the different cards that they can pick. And then they would go in there. And then eBay came around, and then eBay had things popping up and over. So it went from Yahoo groups to a place called Scoundrel. I don't know if you guys remember that back in the day. And then Blowout Forums. And then the admin group that I'm part of now, which is MCCW MMC, which is on Facebook, which I hate Facebook, but it's the only way you can find crazy stuff because these cards are all around the world. So I was completely off social media around this time I started hunting, but I had to jump on, and then all this other stuff ensued afterwards. But yeah,
so you have a better chance of finding them on Facebook.
You have a better chance
in
of
some
finding
cases.
In some cases, most of this stuff is hiding. Here's the thing that people don't understand about Marvel cards. People don't want to sell them. Like the crazy stuff, no one wants to get rid of it. I'm telling you for a fact, no one wants to get rid of this stuff because they feel close to it. They feel really attached to the characters. Some of these cards can't be replaced, especially the more high-end ones. Like it's an impossibility at some stages. So like my Surfer collection, yeah, it took a long time. Even like sketches, like old school sketches, took a long time to get to. Tough. Still having trouble grabbing stuff because people who have it are well off. They collected it as a passion. They have no reason to sell or trade for that matter, which is crazy.
Yeah. On the high-end card, real quick, Fausto, that green PMG, is there a reason why you haven't graded that card yet, or are you keeping it raw? Or
nerves. That's literally it. I have. What do I have here? I have the, what is it called? I have the blue, none higher, Pop 1-9 that I graded. So this is the highest graded Silver Surfer PMG on the registry currently. Mm-hmm. The green, I'm not a professional grader, and grading is not grading is important to me in the sense that I like the idea of it being authenticated because I am worried about cards and what people are doing with cards nowadays and what's possible. So being authenticated is important to me. Grade is kind of like secondary in my personal view. To other people, it's not. But so I did this one and it's in the collection. So basically I also did a crazy thing, which I haven't told anybody yet. So this is on this channel for the first time. Basically.
Breaking news.
Basically, I went from the very first Surfer to the last Surfer, all graded 9 or better. No team appearances, no verses, just all the different base card art of Surfer, even the inserts. And I went from 1979 to 2016.
Nice. Fausto, do you mind showing some of the top pieces there? Like maybe starting even with the rookie card.
Is there a nuclear key in there at all? Maybe in that case, a nuclear key for president or something. That was quite the case. Look at that thing. Jesus.
It's ridiculous. I don't know. I'm a cat, man. I love boxes. I saw Pelican cases and I was like, I'll do it. I want to feel like a spy. I don't even care. It's not even, I can't even pretend it's cool. It's not. It's ridiculously childish, but I adore it so much.
I take this box with me. It's like a filing cabinet box to shows because I can hold, probably 100 comics and I can hold one graded comic, or I have another box, like a filing cabinet box. And these guys make fun of me. You got your little box? You got your little box? I'm like, I'm not carrying a backpack around. I got a box. So
no, it
you
is.
And I are the same.
I like the box thing, man.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yours is much cooler than mine, though. Look at that thing.
But imagine like Fausto's going through the airport if he's traveling somewhere with that thing. People are like, "Is that guy work for the president? Who is that guy?"
Yeah.
They're gonna see the handcuff around my hand, and they're gonna be like,
Dude, you should get a handcuff and put it around here just to like mess with people.
And
I should. I really should.
You don't fly with us, do you? You never flew with. Okay, I was wondering. I'd be like, don't even touch that lady.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you're done.
Ben Stiller
in there. You saw it on the machine. There's no confusion.
Don't even open that damn thing up.
Ready to go.
See them going. Look at this.
What is this thing? Is it shatterproof? And they toss it across the room. I'll show you crazy stuff then. So what are you interested in? You said rookie, right? Is that what you
I mean, we can start with the rookie, but then from there, I'll just you take it from there and show you what's crazy.
Okay. Let's do this right.
So that's the rookie card, right?
So there is an appearance card with Surfer in here. And this is the appearance card of Surfer.
And that's a sticker, right?
This is a sticker. So this is a crazy card, actually. So there is a card before this that has Surfer on it. I haven't said this out loud, but I'm going to say it anyway for you guys. 1966 or 67, Marvel Mania. You guys remember that fan club in the 60s? Jack Kirby has some original art in there, some really cool stuff. And there was a membership card, and Silver Surfer has a picture of him next to a couple of the other heroes on it. So I finally found it. So it's in the case, but I haven't graded it. But this is like an official trading card type of thing, as it was intended, and it's a sticker. There's 4 variants to this. Each of them have like a different copyright variation, 2 asterisks in the US, in the UK kind of thing. And this is 1976.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool.
1976.
So are all 4 variants considered the rookie card, or do you have to have a certain one?
I have all 4 variants. So in that red case there, basically is the whole collection. So every Silver Surfer card ever that's possible. And here is all just the graded ones and all that kind of craziness. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Continue.
There's some crazy stuff.
Rohan's his head's gonna blow up seeing all this stuff.
I know. Yeah.
Look at that one.
You want to see something?
So there was a 9.5. Okay, so I didn't know if it was 10, 9. So there's a 9. Okay.
So PSA doesn't have a 9.5 JP, but CGC, BGS, SGC all have 9.5s.
Right. Okay. Is it backwards on your screen?
No, it's right ways.
It's right. Okay, just making sure. But yeah, so you want to see something crazy for a Surfer fan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'll show you something crazy. So you see the hologram, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. This was an insane find, obviously.
Oh, it's without the border.
It gets better than that. It's the printing plate to make the card.
Oh. How do you get that?
Broke into the card place and took it.
Actually, the guy who worked there swiped it, and he swiped the full set, and I was able to grab the Surfer.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that insane? So
that is
awesome. That is this.
Wow.
That's one of a kind then. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's probably
that's essentially like the original art of a comic. Like that's the printing plate of the card.
Yeah. Well, or if you want the OA exists here, but I can't get it right now. But yeah, so that's there. I'll show you some more stuff, but I'll come over here, show you there. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah.
All right. So let's pull this sucker over here a little more. A little too heavy. Okay. A little too heavy. I gotta stop. I gotta make some restrictions here. This is pretty cool. You should be on the lookout for this.
Oh
So
yeah, I
this
got that. Oh no, that's a promo, huh?
This is the promo. And this is the correct promo, not the diamond. The one that has the diamond on the back is part of an uncut sheet. That should not exist as a card. Nobody should be grading it. This is the promo because it only has 2 lines of the copyright.
So like,
So
how
if
much
you have the
rarer
one-
is that? Or sorry, JP, go ahead.
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, if you have the one with the diamond on the back, that means it was cut from the original and you're not supposed to grade it that way?
Because there were these magazines, Preview magazine. Remember Wizard, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before Wizard, there was a magazine named Preview. And the Preview magazines, they would preview the cards in the 90s. But what they did was for Marvel Universe, because it was the first time, they put these sheets in the magazine, basically where 4 cards were stuck together. They're not perforated. You can't tear them apart. It's basically one sheet of 4 cards. And it's inserted in the magazine. It's basically a page. What people did was they knew the magazine. They buy it really cheap. And then what they do is they go ahead, cut it, and then send it in to get it graded. So there's a few PSA graded when they're not supposed to be because they were cut, but they don't know that. So the promo ones, however, were sick because they were handed out in clear wrappers, basically card bags, like actual like cellophane kind of wrappers. And they're just clear and you could see them. And it was like, I forget how many cards were in each pack. And they were just handing them out as promo material. So these are often in terrible shape. And it's of like the 18 cards that were part of the promos.
This is like the newsstand of these cards.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, I saw. So correct me if I'm wrong. So they're a little darker colors, and then on the back in the tiny print, it doesn't say exclusively distributed by Impel. Correct?
Correct. That's exactly right. Nailed it.
Yeah. And so, like, let's just, as a thought experiment here, if you had a 9.5 regular card, let's just say it's worth $100. What would that promo 9.5 be worth? Is it like
I have no idea. Like, I mean, it's like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that. I don't say anything about prices with stuff, but only because I'm just like, it sets unrealistic expectations on people sometimes. You know what I mean? And like pumping, flipping, all that stuff. But for me, this is more like, and I don't have the best collection in the world. I don't. I just have a nice surfer collection, and I'm vocal about it. Other people have crazier things, I'm sure. But I just like that it acts like kind of like a museum. You know what I mean? That it has this kind of like trajectory of history. So it's just really cool to see that kind of all come together. You know what I mean?
When you posted about that promo card, like new unveiled secret, I literally, because I have the entire Caesars one, I went through and I looked, and
I know, crazy good collection.
Mine all say exclusively distributed by Impel though.
It's tough. Like I didn't know about it until much later myself. Like I didn't know this first starting off. Like it's weird when you collect something so focused, especially, whatever you do, you guys know this stuff. You guys do this stuff on a whole another level as well. Like you just meet the people who have been archiving this stuff, who know this stuff. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you learn things and people trust you and they say things because they have it. So you're not in competition. You know what I mean? You're basically just like, you're basically just spending your time. And it's not, I'm very fortunate because I've become friends with these people. Usually it's very competitive and, people mislead you, people, a lot of shady stuff, but I've just been very lucky with the people I've met and they've kind of been just very educational, you know what I mean? And helping me out that way. So I've been very lucky.
The cards themselves seem like they're so much different than comic books. I get lost. I mean, I collected them, but now with grading comics seems much easier of a process than getting a card graded. So that whole knowledge and all that, you got to have the right people that you trust and will tell you this stuff so that you don't make mistakes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a crazy story. I met a guy who lives in North Carolina and 2 hours away in Boone or whatever it was. Crazy story. This guy is like the surfer guy, like one of the 5 or 4 surfer people, basically original John Buscema, original Kirby's, like original comic books, the whole series, whole room decked. I mean, you would love it. It's crazy, right? It's just completely decked out surfer, like a crazy surfer dude. Met him by chance. Him and I started talking. He was like, the one thing I never got into was cards. And I am very, I don't spend money on anything else but the cards and, living life and having fun. But like only the cards is my collectible because you never know when something rare comes up. And when it does come up, if you're not having the cash and you have to second think it, it's gone and you're not getting it for another 5 or 6 years, which is what happens to people a lot. No, it's crazy. Like it's a nutty thing that happens. And it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but it's when you get like
that printing plate.
How do you pass on that, right? Regardless of the price, you know what I mean? What do you do? Like for this, for instance, in Marvel Masterpieces 2016, Joe Jusko came back after he did the 92 set and did another set of original art for all the cards. And all those cards are numbered. It's called Marvel Masterpieces 2016. It's a very nice set. It's a beautiful set. It's gotten hyped just like PMGs and retro, unfortunately, so it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster for me. But the art is stunning and beautiful. Well, I collected that set, and I was able to find all 4 of the printing plates for the base card.
What, like, where are you finding these? So that's what I like. How did you find these?
Okay, so I'll go slow. So no, seriously, I'll go slow. So, all right, how did this happen? Okay, this is how it happened. So this one was on ComC for 400. No one was paying that because that was stupid money, and everybody was like, "There's no reason for this to be 400." Now it's more expensive because people are willing to pay for it. Whatever, yada yada yada. I'm only telling you guys the prices so you understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, and real quick, so JP, if you don't, ComC is like a card selling platform online.
Okay.
Basically,
like Comic Link.
Yeah.
Right. So think about it this way. What ended up happening with MM16 was that not only was it released physically, but it was released through something called Upper Deck EPAC. And on Upper Deck EPAC, the boxes were there and you could buy them and you would get the physical cards, but you would just open them up digitally. So you would have to ship them to you later, right?
Yeah.
Or the place that you're right. Right. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, Justin was telling us about this on our episode with him a little bit.
Very finite number of these boxes type of thing. Right? A lot of the crazy good stuff's been pulled, so don't spend like crazy money on the boxes because a lot of the stuff is gone, unfortunately. Very hard to pull anything good because most of it was kind of, taken for a ride. But basically, ComC handles all of those cards. So when you open your pack digitally and you have the cards and you have them shipped to you, they ship from ComC. But luckily, ComC has a website where people who get those cards are like, you know what, I don't want this, I'm going to sell it. They sell it through the ComC. COMC. And basically you go there and hunt for cards. This was 400 stupid money. No one was like $400 for this would ever make sense. It's a black and white plate. You can hardly see the image. There's no reason for anybody to pay $400 except stupid me who's going to pay $400. So I bought that one. This one pops up and I'm like, I'm taking both. I'm going for the rainbow. You know what I mean? I'm on a second plate. I'm going to go for the home run. Well, it takes another year to find this one. It's from a friend who doesn't want to sell it because now it's rare. You know what I mean? And it's a really beautiful plate. Has the ink stain on it. It's a really gorgeous piece.
Is that steel or what is that? Like you say plate? So is
it's
it like
just an alloy metal. So and it's cut. So it's on the printing plate press. And basically what happens is it gets cut. And that's why you have those circles, those little cuts, so people won't injure themselves when they open them up in packs.
Yeah.
And they do that as a safety. And it's basically this card, and here's the printing plate.
That's dope.
Okay. So it takes a long time. I help him get some crazy stuff. I give him a stupid number. I think it was $650. Just so you guys know. $650. He says, all right. And I'm still friends with him today and helped him out in the past. It's turned into a whole friendship type of thing, and I got it. This is funny. So remember I showed you this card?
Yeah.
You see how it has Defenders on here?
Yeah.
There's 4 other printing plates that have this logo on with the Surfer. I only have the base one, the base rainbow. So there's 8 printing plates. I can't make this stuff up. There's 8 printing plates, but I have the 4 that make the one base card. My boy, my friend, had this card. And he knew I needed it for the rainbow, but he didn't want to sell it. He had other cards. It worked for him. He had no interest, but he was like, look, if I ever sell it, you're the first person I ask. Rarely do people ever stay true to that word, but good people do down the line. People, like, I put people's names on things just in case. You know what I mean? I'm most likely it's going to be a Viking ship for me, and then someone's going to shoot an arrow and all the shit's going to be on fire. So there you go. Just kidding. Terrible joke. This thing, he says to me, that check it, it's really funny. He says, hey, if you ever get the what if version, the one that says Defenders on here in blue, we'll just swap. Not 3 months later, I messaged some guy on eBay because he had a Marvel Masterpiece cards. And I was like, hey, by any chance, would you have Silver Surfer? He goes, yes, I have the blue plate and the autograph what if out of 10. But I'm in my jacuzzi. Do you mind if I just take a picture real quick? And I was like, this guy is messing with me. This is not real. His bath mat is like in a corner of the image, and the 2 cards are right there on the tile floor in plastic. And he's like, yeah, I got these 2. If you want them, we can do a deal.
Bang.
Really?
It's the craziest eBay story. I bought it immediately. I couldn't pay that guy fast enough. It was embarrassing. I look like you could probably hear me salivating on the phone. It was that bad. So I was like, done, I'll take it. Go up to my buddy. He changes his mind, says he won't do it. He's too nervous about it, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I was like, that's fine. No big deal. Year and a half later, he makes me wait. Eventually says yes, and I get the piece. That took me, timeline-wise, almost 4 years to complete.
Jeez. So my question then, the guys you bought them from Comp C, your friend, how did they originally get these plates? They
pulled them.
Oh, they put those in packs.
I'm so sorry. My bad. Printing plates after 2012, after Marvel Beginnings in 2011, 2012, were put in the packs, and you could claim them. And they're one of ones. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you.
So once they take that plate and put it in the packs, they can never make that card again unless that person brings the plate back.
And that's the point. And that's the idea. That's why I like production pieces like that. So like I have a printing plate from every set for Silver Surfer.
Oh, that is rad.
Not all of them, but
yeah, I saw that FF48 one on your
that's
on your post. I asked you about that.
That's the first Silver Surfer one.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you know what like the ratio, like how many plates would there like be one plate in 500 packs? Do you have any idea what the ratio was that they inserted?
It's one of one, honestly. So if you have a plate, you're just lucky to get it. There's not really a ratio. Like you're not guaranteed a plate in a box or a plate in a case. Like it happens.
But they'd hand out all the plates, not just server. Like they handed out all the plates. That's cool.
All. So all the ones that they had printing plates of that they decide to do in there and not destroy, they put in the packs.
So we could go on eBay and just search like Marvel printing plates. And
Marvel, you can do it right now and you'll find tons.
Okay.
From all different sets.
Nice. You've probably cleaned out the Silver Surfer stock though.
If you see one, let's talk. No, yeah. I think they're hard to find. Surfer's back in cards now though, so they're gonna pop. I'm gonna miss things. Like there's gonna be other Surfer collectors, but that's good though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for the character. It's good for other people to have fun too. You know what I mean?
So, that's a good point though. So you collected pre-ban. Now the ban is off. Are you going to continue collecting every Surfer card that comes out? Or are you good with the previous?
I've made some limitations because for me, and this might not suit other people, so it just might be for me. There's certain things I can't reason with, just because a color's change and it's out of 5 or out of 1. Like I have a Mandalorian Star Wars trading card collection that I really was really proud of, and I was able to be first day picking up those cards. You know what I mean? So I made a really nice, tight micro collection. Surfer, I just did all of it because I was just like, I just wanted to have something nice to do, and I really do love Marvel cards, so it's been really fun to do. But there's certain things I'm just not going to compromise, prices that I don't want to. And this is funny because I've spoken to other Silver Surfer card collectors who I've kind of outpaced. And this was stuff they told me like 10 years ago, where they're like, yeah, I just don't think $50 for a card is what you should buy. You know what I mean? So it's funny. It's like, and you guys know this with comic books and stuff, people meet their threshold. And when
Yeah.
people meet their threshold, they stop or they refine what they already have. And then good stuff comes up for sale and yada, yada, yada. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's just the
Yeah,
game.
I mean, it just like that Silver Surfer versus Thanos card that I showed JP it earlier today too. Like, why that card goes for $1,500, I don't know.
No, that's insane. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to look through mine and see if I have anything high. I'll just send to you. There's no reason for that card. I know why. It's because people are trying to make 10 sets, like
Yeah,
PSA 10 sets, and they're missing that card probably because that card was probably a rougher cut. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It was just where it was on the uncut sheet where it was cut. It's just the blades hit it wrong or it hit it too short. So it's always,
And
really tough grade.
they don't make an adjustment. Like I was listening to Bronze and Modern Gods, and they said about Miracle Man 1 was on the way it was cut, it had a crease or something in it. And whenever it gets graded, they take that into consideration and they don't take off the
no,
grade.
with cards you get dinged for
You don't,
manufacturing
it doesn't
errors.
make a difference.
Yeah.
So the issue here is that some grading companies, and I'm not promoting anybody, I'm not trying to say, I'm just saying what I know. Certain grading companies don't have the knowledge to understand why they would make that correction. You know what I mean? They don't know Surfer versus Thanos from that uncut sheet where that's located and why that would get a tougher grade. They're not thinking, oh, because they're not taking it serious enough where they're like, oh, this card usually has this issue. Let's correct this to not drive people insane. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, that's kind of what I'm doing with CGC, and hopefully when people start taking this stuff a little more seriously with Marvel cards, it'll become common knowledge. You know what I mean? So like, for instance, X-Men Marvel Metal Universe, right? X-Men Metal Universe was made during the pandemic. There are tons of issues. You know what I mean? But like, I know CGC for a fact made an effort to make sure that they understood the common errors. That way they're not hurting people on grades too much, because if every card has the scratch on it, every card, no, we know that for a fact for certain sets because of the way they're manufactured. We all understand. You know what I mean? Like the 1991, we probably don't know for sure if the number's so overwhelming where it was all of them that were cut rough or over 50%. You know what I mean? So there's a little discrepancy there that I think people will take into consideration. But Marvel X-Men Metal, a lot of us would understand yada, yada, yada. Or like cards that are numbered. Some cards that are numbered out of 50, right? Let's say 25. Let's say there's a card numbered out of 25, and every one of those 25 cards has a standard issue. Yeah, I think that should be taken into consideration on the grading, because then your grading expectations on the card are unrealistic, right? And I don't know enough about grading by any. You guys know way more about the comic book grading, all this stuff. I just don't know it. I know Marvel cards, but I don't know, everything about grading. But to my knowledge, that's what would be common practice. But I just don't know. You know what I
That
mean?
would make sense. So, I mean, I don't know if they make an announcement so that people send them back in to get regraded to try to get those 10s, and then that would just screw the market up for anyone who paid $1,500 for that Thanos card.
I think there's a lot of variables there. I think most things, money wise, when people buy collectibles, I think if this is a tangent, you guys stop me, okay? Because I can talk. Um, um, it's not so much about being a collector; it's about being a hobbyist. You know what I mean? Hobbyists understand this stuff about their collections because they take the time to do the research, learn the thing, and they speak to other members of the community that have better information that they do. And then they come together and kind of form that community of information, and it strengthens the hobby, right? A lot of times now when we collect things, we're looking at like, oh, there's 86 bids on here. It's at this crazy number. It must be rare. That is very dangerous to make assumptions like that. And that's taking a lot of money out of people's pockets. You know what I mean? Like, that's a very scary thing. Truly rare things, in my experience, barely make their ways onto eBay unless it's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's rare for something really, really special, like really crazy, unique. Like, I got this, and it was a stupid lucky thing to get. Stupid. When I say stupid lucky, I mean really stupid.
Captain America sketch.
Yeah, that's by
Right,
Stan Lee though.
Oh, that's a Stan Lee. That's cool.
Yeah, I can see the signature.
Yeah.
That's Stan Lee. Let me show you this thing correctly. That's Stan Lee Sketchograph. He did 100 Spider-Man, and then he did 100 of Captain America.
That's rad.
Now, it doesn't look like much, but anybody who actually collects anything by Stan Lee understands that he is not an artist, he is a writer.
Mhm.
Right.
And they also understand, because I spoke to someone who's been grading comic books for 30 years at CGC, he doesn't draw many things. He's done some Spider-Man stick figures on comic books as remarks and stuff like that, but to have an actual drawing by him, pack pulled, a finite number of them, is pretty rare. And there's other ones that are even more rare as well, and other cards that are pretty crazy.
Did you pack pull that one?
Yeah, I haven't pack pulled anything, man. I rarely, I hunt. I'm just on the ground. I just hunt because I can't. Like I said, I'm very specific about how I spend money on this stuff, and I just can't take the gamble. I love ripping. I love ripping. I've had people send me stuff, and they're so nice to me, and they let me rip it and get my my energy out, and I ship it back to them nice. You know, they let me very nice people who let me have those experiences. But you know, I've pulled a 1990 Marvel Universe Silver Surfer because I saved a pack from when I was a kid. I had 2 packs that I saved, and I opened one recently because it's for my binder, because I have all the sealed packs that Surfer was on as well, all the sell sheets, all the promo stuff. I'm telling you, that shit's insanity. And I opened one for fun, and I pulled a Surfer. So that was kind of like, I was like, all right, cool. That was good. I pulled like a Surfer. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice.
So then, Fausto, let's talk a little bit like career-wise. Like, once you grew up, have you always been involved with cards, or like how did you get started in cards? Like how did this evolve?
Just as a kid, I was just opening cards, and I only collected Marvel cards, not sports cards. I'm 6'4", and the rest of that sentence is 6'4" and nothing. I got nothing. I can't run. I look like a chicken, a headless chicken. I was told I can't dunk. I got nothing. Right, just not a sports guy, and I just never was. And I was an AV kid, so like I actually teach screenwriting and film at the university here. So I teach over here at the university, and like my whole life has just been like creative kind of work, film work, things like that. But I've always collected cards on the side. And I became really like, I don't know. I did that podcast, and I was in that Facebook group, and I have my own channel, and I was one of the first people doing all this stuff. So people were just, I was very lucky to be found by CGC and given the opportunity, and just card stuff, and Upper Deck's been contacting me to like ask me questions about the sets they're coming out with. That was before CGC. And then like I actually had helped Steve Aoki purchase his Marvel card collection, and a few other people who want to buy. Just coincidence. It wasn't like I was just one of the only people collecting Marvel cards at the beginning, and people would hit me up, that kind of stuff.
So you don't have any athletic ability, but you already been drafted by one company and then being traded potentially to another company. So I think that's pretty cool, and to do it that way.
My rookie card comes out next week, so just make sure you guys keep an eye.
Yeah, I mean, who gets a call from CGC or Upper Deck? I mean, that's something to be very proud of. So, yeah, sports don't mean everything. I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool.
So then tell us what that is. So head Marvel card consultant at CGC. What does that mean? What do you do? What's your role? You said you're not a grader, so you're not examining the cards.
No. So basically what happened, and I'm glad, because that seems like a very shit job. That seems like a very hard job, because I've graded students. I've been a teacher for a while at this place. So it's like, I can understand people being upset with their grades, so I cannot handle that stress. But basically, it's a weird title. It's not a title I wanted type of thing, because it's a weird way they put like Marvel card expert and consultant. It's weird to be called an expert in anything, because one person knows and the other person might not know. I really do think it's like a group of people, and I just happen to know enough people that if I did have a question, I would know where to find the answer most of the time, like 95% of the time, 90% of the time, I could find it. You know what I mean? So that's the bigger reason. But What they did when they got Pokemon, when they did Pokemon cards and Magic cards, is that they went ahead and decided to do something that I thought was pretty smart, where they found someone in the community who knew a lot and said, hey, help us database, verify cards, look for fakes. What should we be aware of? Give us the lay of the land. And Charlie Collects, who's a friend, who's a very nice man, helped me kind of navigate what this was at first, and he did the Pokemon side. So he was like, "Oh, they're going to do the Marvel Crowd side with you." I just had tons of questions for him. He helped me out, and they hired me to do the Marvel Card side. So I kind of knew what I was stepping into, and everyone's been super nice, and they're really excited. So I was able to get them with their help, of course, not by myself, but we were able to achieve a signature series for trading cards, and we did the Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this was
crazy. Todd one the first one?
Todd's one's first one. I'm working on some others I can't talk about, but
are you selling that one?
Of course. $2, $3. I got to be hard about this. I'm sorry. Take it. I appreciate you not hardballing me. I appreciate that.
No, I won't. No, not at all.
No. Basically,
awesome.
I was telling them, and I was like, Marvel card collectors are not just card collectors; they're art collectors. They understand the artist. They know these things. They don't. They might not know the story of the character, but they know the art style of who drew it. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of the kind of like old school card collectors have that mentality. So I was like, signature series for cards would be great. And Todd McFarlane had never done an official signature. You know what I mean? Like, had never done an official signature on cards. You have one from Jim Lee, you have Stan Lee, you have Rob Liefeld, Ron Wilson, I think is his name. I have to find out and make sure. But Todd McFarlane never did, and he had 2 sets from Comic Images, and they use his art a lot. You know what I mean? So it just made a lot of sense to get him to sign cards in an official capacity, not just at a con. You know what I mean?
So I have a kind of an interesting question there for you, Fausto. Since you helped set up this Todd McFarlane signing, I was always curious. So I sent comic books into that signing this past year, and if you looked, it said the cost to sign a book was $120. The cost to sign a card was $125. Why was it $5 more?
For me, it went all to me. I mean, you can't see the mansion I'm living in. Like, my jacuzzi's over there. I got like a whole chocolate fondue set just in the corner. It's crazy. I'm just living it. I mean, I appreciate you, so thank you. But
yeah, everyone sent them in, man.
It's $5 just for me. I have no idea. Awesome. I have no idea. I think I hate to speculate because I actually just know most of the contract stuff is through the artists and first, all that kind of stuff. So I actually have no clue pricing and what they decide to do. The biggest hurdle for me was I was like trying to convince them that enough people would send in cards to get them signed by Todd, because they were
how
like,
many people sent them in?
We had a lot, like more than they thought that I was making up. You know what I mean? They realized real quickly, they're like, oh wow, this is actually kind of a crazy, amazing thing that people were really excited about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So just as a kind of a quick story. So I was talking. So did you guys see there was a guy, I can't who is this on Instagram, but he posted, he has, they have those comic cut cards, right?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about what Miles has. Okay, let's not bring up.
Are you talking about the ASM 299 card?
Oh, I know what it is. Black suit Spider-Man.
Yeah. So I sent it to you, JP. If you saw it, it's the image that's on the cover of ASM 300. He got it signed by Todd. It got graded. But anyways, what I thought was funny is I talked to Justin about it. And I was like, dude, have you seen this card? How sick is this? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I saw that card on eBay
with me.
Oh, well, really? He was like, it was in my cart at New York Comic Con, and I didn't hit buy, and someone else had bought it.
We were dying. You should have seen us. We were laughing our asses off. So I arranged for CGC to do Marvel cards at New York Comic Con, and I got a buddy of mine who owns a lot of the original art for the cards to bring it to the show. And we put on a whole display of all the original comic book art, the Hildebrandt, Joe Jusko, the first Black Suit Spider-Man card. The original art was there, and we put them next to the cards. Great. It was sick. It was awesome. We did box breaks. It was a great thing. because you go to these cons, there's no Marvel cards ever anywhere. And then I also handed out this stuff, which were sample slabs with different Marvel cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was, so we're at this dinner, which we're at this event. Justin's there. We're at this dinner. I see the card on eBay, and I think to myself, that's a great card. That might be one of the best comic cuts I've seen. I should just pay the $1,200. I think it was $1,200, right? Or something like that. It was stupid. And I was like, maybe I should just buy this thing and just hold on to it. Maybe it's just a nice buy. It's a lot of money. I don't usually do this, but it's a nice looking card, which happens to me every once in a while because I can't help myself. Justin is on the other side of the table doing the same thing, just sitting there on his phone. And I didn't realize it at the time. And he's just there. He's like doing the numbers. I died when I figured it out because I was like, what is this guy buying? Like, what is he thinking about? And then we ended up talking to each other, and everybody at this table, all Marvel card collectors, you should see them all looking at their phones, looking at this one card, because we all know what we're doing. And we're all like talking. And then one of them's just like, man, did you see this card? And everybody's like, oh man, are you going to get it? And I was dying because everyone was having the same thought. And then Miles from Canada, Namor collector, nice guy. Nice.
Yeah, Subby something right on Instagram.
Stubby, Miles, super, super sweet guy. He's not stupid. And he's a Spider-Man collector, black suit Spider-Man collector specifically. He's not dumb, and he just does it. I tell Todd at the signing, I messaged, people at CGC who were there with him, and I was like, when Todd signs the comic cut, be very gentle, because I didn't want the paper to move. So I was freaking out because I knew people would send comic cuts, and I knew that one was there. And I was like, I hope it comes out super beautiful, and it did. I mean, he killed it. I mean, it's just a beautiful card.
It's incredible. It's an incredible card.
Incredible.
So I have two questions actually about that card you just showed. So those were like the first sample CGC cards graded. Why did they not put a grade on? Why did they just put SA?
SA's for sample.
I know, but why not just put a grade on it and then you could just put on the label sample?
Because in a way, it was a bunch of cards that they had purchased, and then I had given them a bunch of MM16 cards that I had. That I bought, and basically it was a way to show how the slab sat on the card, and it was the very first Marvel cards they ever graded.
Yeah.
So it was almost like test encapsulation stuff. You know what I mean? They were checking condition, doing all this stuff. So it's more of like a production run, like a tester. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So just kind of a funny, interesting kind of connected story here. So I've told you and I've told JP this. So like when it comes to Surfer cards, my initial goal is to collect every Surfer card and character appearance card from the 1990, 1991, 1992 sets. In the 1992 set, the only one I'm missing is the Coming of Galactus card. And,
so sorry.
And I want him in, ideally, I want him in 10.
So sorry.
And I'm not seeing that in a 10 anywhere. And I very rarely see them graded. And so I post on Instagram like, hey, I'm looking for this card, PSA 10, blah, blah, blah. And then someone tags me on someone else's post, and it's the SA card of that card. And in the caption, it's like, thank you to my good friend Fausto for gifting me this card. And I was like, and I even put a comment like, is this for sale? And he's like, sorry, no, I'm keeping this one with me. It's one of the, I was like, oh.
That guy's a G. That guy is a scary guy. That guy is a super, super, one of the nicest people I know. He collects Star Wars at a level that's inhuman. Vintage Star Wars. Crazy stuff. He has the very first cards that were ever graded for Star Wars in CGC. Like he is a monster collector. Crazy, crazy nice guy. But I was laughing when I saw you comment, and I was like, oh my God, this poor guy. Because I was keeping that card and then keeping the one I showed you. And I was just going to keep both of them. They were the only two surfers because I'm a greedy, prick. And I kept them both. And then he was so nice, and he loves Surfer like you and me. All hail the board. You know what I mean? You and me are like Surfer. He's a Surfer dude, and we knew each other for a while. And he's been so good about like showing me stuff with Star Wars because I collect like modern Mandalorian stuff, and he taught me everything I know about vintage really. And I was just like, you know what? I can't hoard. I can't hoard all the Surfers, so I sent him that one. But I was dying.
What was the one that you have there? Which card was that?
That's Prism. So that's the Surfer 1992. That's his all Prism set. That's his only.
Oh
set
yeah, those cards are. There's a couple of those like. There's one that's like the cover from Silver Surfer 4 that I want. Yeah, that set is awesome.
Yeah, and this is the Silver Surfer card. So it says Silver Surfer. It's like the character card. So I kept this one. Yeah, see, and you can see on the back it says, sorry, my camera. It says New York Comic Con on the top here.
So they just handed those out to random people there at New York Comic Con?
I handed them out to random people. Whoever came up and looked at the art and was like, oh man, I remember Marvel cards in the 90s. I gave him the choice of a character and gave him one. And they were like asking their friends, can my friend get one? I was like, sure. It was great. They were super nice people.
That's
awesome. It was fun. It was nice because I would have died if I was at a Comic Con and I finally found Marvel cards like that for the first, because they're never there. You know what I mean? Like if I had that experience, my head would have exploded.
We talked to Justin about this. I was saying, like, you know, I've only been to a handful of cons, and they've all been out here where I'm at in Seattle. There's never any Marvel cards there.
No.
And so I'm always curious about where these cards, and then I heard that because he's got like 4 or 5 of those SA cards. And so I thought that was really cool.
Slick. Got them for friends. For friends, he told me. Got them for friends, but he snagged 1 or 2 because people were, you know, some people didn't come by, so it was the last day, and he was like, "Can I take 1 more?" 1 more turned into 2, and I was like, "It's okay." Some people did that. I think there's only like 200, 220 of those sample slabs running around, but it was fun.
That's awesome. So kind of going back to your work. So one of the questions I had was, how does, like, and this is not just card related, this is comic book related. And maybe this is what, you know, this kind of sounds like what your job is. Like, I'm always very impressed and kind of blown away with, like, what is this information database that CGC has, right? You could send in, you know, random, you know, Flash 262 Spanish version, and like they'll have that on the label. And I'm always just like, how do they know all of these different items? And I guess that's probably what you do as a Marvel card consultant. So you research, have this database, like, and you can identify. Is that what we're talking about here?
So there are good people there who also do their research and are very professional. So I'm the one who kind of gives a really good overview and the really rare and the really obscure stuff. And then they fill out like obvious blanks and like even find some obscure stuff too. It's very a team effort type of thing, but that's why they would call me in and be like, hey, I saw this. Is this an actual card or is this not a card? Do we actually grade this? Do we not grade this? And that was where I came in to make those kind of decisions and stuff like that.
Yeah. And is this, so you teach as well. So is this a full-time job, or are you able to?
It is a full-time job. I'm the teaching stuff has, you know, slowly come to an end type of thing. But yeah, this is a full-time gig right now, you know, hopefully for a long time. I'm enjoying it very much, and it's been a very nice, you know, experience for sure. So I don't know, having a lot of fun doing it. I'm very lucky to do it. And I try to make sure that other people in the community who are not working the job can, you know, who like people who are like certain collectors of certain sets. I'll be like, hey, what do you consider as this is important, this is not important? Like people who've been collecting one set for like 5, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years. I make sure not to like, I go out of my way to try not to make all the decisions based on my personal taste. You know what I mean? Like some things are common knowledge, some things are specialized knowledge. So I try to like, you know what I mean? I try to make it a balance if I can.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, so I would definitely get down with that job. Like just sitting there.
It's fun, man. It's nice. It's a good gig. It's a really good gig. Yeah.
It's like a dream job for nerds. I mean, I got to tell you, I'd love to have a job like that. I mean,
I try really hard to make sure that everyone also gets to have like part of it. Like that was the whole thing of having original art in New York. Like that was not an easy thing to set up. Like I graded Joe Jusko's 1966 Marvel Vintage set. So having Joe on there and him talking about his cards, and Joe Jusko's the artist for the 1992 Marvel Masterpiece set, which is just one of the most iconic sets in Marvel cards. And grading his cards through there was kind of like showing people, was like, hey, we have to treat the king, you know what I mean? Super nice and stuff like that. So it was just a way to like, I don't know. I'm always trying to pay tribute to everybody with this stuff because it is kind of, I don't know. It's you know, it is a singular job, and I'm trying to make sure everyone in the community is having some.
And you said you're in North Carolina. CGC is obviously in Sarasota, so you're not actually ever there handling the cards.
I've gone there a few times, but like handling the Marvel cards, no. Like I've been there to see the process, to understand it, to help and stuff like that, but not like. I look at cards through a database, you know, at times, but I'm definitely not like cards in hand. You know, they don't want the kid in the candy shop type of thing, which makes a lot of sense.
I gotta look up Jusko, Joe Jusko. You said I don't know that name from.
When you see the artwork, you'll when you see the set, you'll remember. But Joe Jusko, yeah, Jusko.
Speaking of Joe Jusko, I'm not a huge modern comic book collector, but there was a run, Silver Surfer Black, which was a 5 series issue, and
Trad more.
But
Okay,
of the number 1 issue, Joe Jusko has a variant cover, and it's an homage to Silver Surfer 4, which is my favorite Silver Age cover. Period.
That's right, baby.
And it's awesome. And I've looked for it, and I can't find it.
He killed it. That you can't find the variant. I should have picked up copies. I was doing the card stuff, like I said, and I tried very hard not to touch. Like I read all of Black. Oh my god, dude, Black was so good, and that variant cover is gorgeous. Joe kills it though. Like he kills it. Like here's a sketch card by the man himself.
Oh, that's rad. What year is that from?
So he did this in 17, but this was he did 9 cards when he did the set. He did the set, and he didn't get a copy of the set from Upper Deck, but someone gifted him a set of the 90 card set he drew, and they gifted it to him. So as a gift, Joe gave him 9 sketch cards, and one of them was Silver Surfer, and the guy decided to sell it for some bizarre reason, so I picked it up. Nice. So it's just there's other sketch cards that Joe has done, pack inserted sketch cards from Joe. They're just impossible to find. Crazy stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's cool, man. Like the artwork, he does phenomenal artwork. He's a legacy. 1992 was the first set to ever show us what like characters would look like in the real world, right?
Yeah.
Like it was the MCU.
Like Alex Ross.
Right. There you go. It was the MCU before the MCU. It was like, this is what they would look like if they were real. You know what I mean? Like Joe did that for the cards. And that's what became like every kid was like, oh, wow, I can imagine this now. I can see this. It looks like a costume is on their skin. You know what I mean? Like it's very, it's different mentality.
Those cards, though, they made a couple of them into comics, right? The Masterpiece.
Yes, they did. So
not
they
all
used,
of them, though, right?
Not all of them. So, like, remember the Jim Lee ones, the X-Men ones? They did the same thing where they had those comic books where he had all the images that were also on the cards. They used them as comic book covers. They had those 4 Marvel Masterpiece comic books where they showed all of the art. There's been a few different variations of things they've done with that card art for comic books. And so, pretty cool.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it was just Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, who else? Sabretooth. Was there only 4 of the Masterpiece books, but they had a whole set of cards.
Yeah, I think one of them was Ghost Rider. Is that right?
Yes, Ghost Rider, Sabretooth, I think, Spider-Man, and I forget. But I found a couple in a box of stuff I bought, and so when I saw the image of Spider-Man, that clicked. But I didn't see those other images. I did not see those. I don't remember those. So
no, I mean it's definitely like a trip down memory lane when you start going through. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing for sure. Yeah.
Now, something I will ask you about this, because I don't know anything about it, but this came in. I bought an online auction I won, and I got this. I don't think this is worth much of anything, but it's just like a Fleer Spider-Man. I'm sure they came a bunch of them, but it's a cool Venom picture.
Dave DeVries.
That's who it is. Okay, I was wondering who the guy was at the bottom here. It looks like Danny DeVito. It looks like.
So Dave DeVries drew the Venom. The guy at the bottom, I forget. Is that Shocker? Let me see a little closer. I forget. Jackal. Yeah, and then you got the 2 Spider-Mans. You got Black Cat. You got Hobgoblin. Yeah, that's a good set, man. So basically, that is a 9-page promo sheet, and there's the promo.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a great. I mean, there's Surfer ones. It's dug up. I'll show you guys privately if you're interested in seeing that craziness. But like, there's tons of sell sheets and like posters and things like that. Like, that's the stuff that's really fun, is finding those things in tack or finding where they were inserted in. I mean, there's pretty cool stuff. So people will try to cut up those cards and grade them. But you can see the back. That one's clearly, you can see the back.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to say that was a card because it would be cut around that.
Because you would know immediately where it's from. The diamond ones should be the same, but people don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, I remember baseball cards, and they had all those extra bells and whistles. You know, the old '86 Topps card were just
Yes.
plain. The brown border was ugly as hell, and it had the little trophy if you were a rookie. But then, as they in the '90s, all those cards, just like the comics, had all the foil and whatnot. So this one reminded me of the '90s because it's that same look of
Same
that
look.
Yeah,
having that
JP,
glare.
I
I
love
remember
that.
with those sports cards. It was like there was some brands in the 90s. It was like Tops and Don Russ. It was like they
Yeah.
just look very like bland. But then you get like Upper Deck and Skybox and like
Skybox.
Fleer Ultra or something like that. I'm like, ooh, these things are
What was it?
nice.
But Topps had the Top Stadium Club cards that
Yeah,
were
yeah,
like
yeah. Those were nice.
glossy.
Yeah. But all anything that was like gloss, it's like, man, these are the cards you want. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why when those Marvel Masterpiece cards came out, it was like, whoa,
glossy, and they all
next level.
stick. They all stick. You buy a box now, you're lucky if cards don't stick together because they're
Yeah.
glossy. They really they peel apart. So it's harder to find them. Like there's boxes still around because they made 350,000 of the 1992 Marvel Masterpiece boxes. Crazy number. But the problem is, yes, people had them, but who was grading Marvel cards back in the day? Maybe 3 or 4 people. But everyone, it's so funny. I hear this story all the time where people get out their binders and goes, I open these from packs and put them in a binder sleeve. They're 10. They're automatic 10s. And that's fine. Like, I don't think people have to grade at all. I think if they're a 10 to you and they matter in the binder and you like them, then there's no reason to compare. You just be happy with what you have. But, these cards are printed off. So many were printed, color, manufacturer errors, off centering, dented corners. There's just a lot of stuff that happens to these cards in between stages. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Hey, Fausto, I haven't read it. Oh, go ahead, JB.
No, go ahead. I cut you off last time.
Just kind of like a tangent question. But since you work for CGC, two things. Do you, one, get free grading for your things? And two, do you have a friends and family discount?
So the first thing is they give me everything free because I'm so amazing. You know what I mean? I'm just so wonderful of a person.
You were drafted. They have to give it to you. You were drafted.
Base PSA gives it to me for free. BGS gives it to me for free. It's a crazy thing. I just so awesome. The second thing, friends and family. When I send in cards, I say to all my friends, like, hey, use my name and just put friends and family and you'll get the major discount. Similar to PayPal. No, it's nothing like that. Like, you get like employee discounts and stuff, but I can't sell any of the cards I grade with CGC or anything like that. So there's there's little things like that. No, I don't sell. I wouldn't want to do that anyway. That'd be really unethical. Like,
if you sign something that you can't, you sign that you can't sell a car that they graded.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do it anyway, but like,
I guess you have the conflict of interest kind of thing.
Yeah,
but he didn't grade it though. He didn't grade.
I didn't grade it. I mean, yeah, there's but like for me personally, like
it's very.
How can I say this? Like, if I was gonna, sorry, go ahead, my friend.
I was gonna say we the episode hasn't come out yet, but we interviewed Steve Borak 2 weeks ago, and so he was the first president at CGC, and that was one of the things he told us. He's like, when they hired me, I sold off all my collection because I couldn't be thought of as biased towards certain things.
That's smart.
So it's kind of like the same kind of concept here.
That's smart. That's really smart. Yeah, it's a blind send in, so they don't know my name when I send stuff in or anything like that. So there's not like, I don't think any of it's not like I have a brother-in-law working there at the grading thing. You know what I mean? It's not like anything weird like that or like a best buddy.
Yeah, you're not in Florida. You're sending from North Carolina. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like they know what cards are coming in or anything like that to give me like a better grade. But like personally, I would never in a million years, like ethically, like that would be crazy. You know what I mean? Like I've never sent, the only things I've sent in were like surfers for this, you know what I mean? And who the hell is going to buy this? You know what I mean? You people, when you
I know somebody will buy it. He's right this way. That's who'd buy all that stuff in that box. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. No, I mean, like, I don't, the surfer collection, like I've had cards and sold cards and done stuff like that, but I have. I mean, I'd be lying if I haven't sold things or I bought things and I was like, oh, no one's looking at this. This is super rare. And then eventually traded it towards a surfer or, sold it for something. It's the game. You know what I mean? But I've never done, like, I think I've graded like 20 cards with them or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's fresh. It's still new. You know what I mean? I haven't kind of abused it. I just just filling out this collection because in my head, this is like my creative thing that I'm doing is building the surfer collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's fun.
I want to transition to a different topic, but related. But JP, do you have any comic questions or card questions left?
I have a question, but it may go off on a tangent, so we don't have to go down that road. One of the things that I, as a collector for Bronze and Silver Age, we just want to have a graded copy. Doesn't have to be a 9.8, but there seems to be a huge push in cards to have a 10. And for me, I see a lot of yours are not graded. They're in those just undestructible containers you have them in, right? So they're not graded, but they're that's like the way of putting them in those frames or whatnot. Like I don't know if you're gonna get them graded, but you got them protected.
Yeah.
To me, just having the card itself, like I can't see a huge difference between a 9 and a 10 because it's so difficult to get.
It becomes subjective. It's very, very subjective. Yeah, I think personally, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, there are things you notice and things that can be distinguished between a 9 and 10, like for sure. Like I've seen cards that are just slightly off center, and I've seen a card that's super centered and has a 10. Or sometimes I've seen cards that are super centered and super off centered and have a 10. And I'm like, what's going on here? I think for me personally, and aside from who I work with, and I think every people work at these jobs. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like a machine doing this stuff. And the harsh truth of this is that so much of grading matters to people because there is a benefit to the value of grading certain things. In my mind, the reason I have the graded collection is just to authenticate it. I'm in a position now where I bought most of my surfer cards before the boom. So I was, and I wasn't spending a lot of money on other things. So I just happened to put together the collection. You know what I mean? Like, this is not like, there's things I've done this for where I thought, oh, this is going to be crazy expensive. There's no reason why this should be this cheap. I'll buy it and hold on to it. If someone wants it, or I'll trade for it. I'll do it. I've done that. I've played that game. But like, this is not that game. This is more just like my stuff. You know what I mean? This is just for me in my head to enjoy this stuff because no one's going to buy the Silver Surfer Master collect. You know what I mean? Like that's insanity. You know what I mean? Like I've seen tons of character collectors try to sell their collections either like sad stuff, if they're sick or something like that. You know what I mean? Or like, something with a family member, or it's just they're older and they want to get rid of it. And they have the hardest time selling this stuff. So I made sure not to ever put myself in a position where it was going to be that for me. You know what I mean? So the stuff I collect is, anyway, there's a balance. But in terms of grades and stuff, and basically the serious question you're asking is, how, why in cards does it always have to be a 10 compared in books that are just very old and very difficult to find in any grade? Just to own the book in a grade and to say it's the authentic book is good enough for me. Eventually, it will be like that for cards. But you have to remember the oldest trading card right now is 1966 Don Russ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That 66 is not, yeah, you know what I mean? And 66 is not, AF-15 is what year is AF-15 again?
62.
Superman was 38, 39. So, I mean,
see, like when you go to the DC stuff, it gets a little older. You know what I mean? But the problem is that cards, they are handled similar to comic books. They're just meant to be fun. You know what I mean? So that's how they're collected, especially the 66 set. Like you could write on the 66 set because it has like
enter caption here. Yeah.
Right. So you would mess those up. So I think people are all about 10s right now because grading cards, especially Marvel cards, is young. But I think eventually people will just be like, oh, at least I have this card in my collection. That's really cool. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in my head is I'm just like, yeah, I have tons of 10s and it's a privilege for sure to say that and be like, oh, I'm fine. I'm totally cool. Yeah, of course you are because you have the 10s. Yeah, I get the logic there, but it's not like the 1500 you're talking about for that Silver Surfer versus Thanos. There's no way in hell. You know what I mean?
No, there's no chance I would.
No chance of that ever happening. So like for that, I'd be like, I'm just going to get an 8 and be cool. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's, again, like I said at the very beginning of this, is like thresholds. You know what I mean? You figure out where you are and you become okay with it.
Yeah.
But the drop off from an 8 to a 10 or from a 10 to an 8 is huge
Yeah.
Whereas it's not that way in comics as much. A 9-8 down to an 8 is probably a huge difference, but a 9-0 and an 8 or a 6 would I have an
Because
Iron Man #1 and it's 6-0. I'm happy with that grade.
that's sick.
But
because you have pages, you have page quality, you have different things that can go in there, things that can be cut out like the value stamps, things that could be, coloring degradation, stains on page 5 and 6 instead of the front cover that you couldn't tell. You know what I mean? There's quite a lot of things that are taken into account on those scales. So when you look at the scales for cards, yes, the drop from 10 to 8 is a big one because that means you probably have a dent in the surface.
Mhm.
And there's only 2 surfaces to a card, the front and the back. So that's 50% of the damage. See what I mean?
yeah, but like if you had a Silver Surfer versus Thanos and an 8 versus the 10 at 1,500, what's the 8 cost?
Well, I'll tell you
$50?
right, the 9 you can get on eBay for $45. So it's that's what I think
Because
that's
I'll
not
tell you exactly why. Easy. It's not complicated. It's because the amount of audience for the 10 far exceeds the audience for
Yeah.
9s and 8 sets.
Yeah.
There's only maybe, I'm going to make up numbers. I'm making numbers. 10 people. No, I do actually probably know the number of this. There's probably like 25, 30 people trying to make a PSA 10 set of 1990 Marvel Universe, which is really the first set of Marvel cards to have original art by actual Marvel card writers and artists. Yeah, so it's kind of a big deal set. So I understand why it's such a Hallmark set. And it's the first time we had holograms, inserts, yada, yada. And it's made by Marvel. There's maybe like 30, 25 people collecting the 10 set. You know how many people are collecting the 9 set?
Yeah.
It's that kind of drop off. However, this is the trick. Eventually, there won't be 10s anymore. And that 30, 25 number will really only be about 10 to 12 people who could pull it off. That means the 9 audience who can't pull off the 10s starts growing. And that audience becomes even larger than how many people who were able to put in the 10 because the price point, the entry point becomes impossible. So you're just looking contextually right now. What's happening here is that it's just audience number difference in my mind. And I don't know. Yeah, that's just an assumption.
So if the person who can't finish the 10 set, right, and so he or she's going to move to the 9, does he unload the 10 set to somebody else, or does he have a 10 and a 9? You can't have intermingled 10 and 9 set.
I had someone going for the MM96 Marvel Masterpiece 1996, which is one of the most desirable sets. Beautiful set, going for the 10s, and going for the 10s. I have the only Pop 1 10 for the duel. I think it's still Pop 1.
Yeah, that the one on the one in your right hand is on eBay for $950 for a 10.
This one, the base, yeah, because there's Pop 4. Yeah. So people make this set quite a bit. And what ends up happening is because the price point's super high right now, I had someone who was going for a 10 set. They were maybe shy 20 cards, 25 cards, but it was impossible. They were like, this is a nightmare. I'm not interested in this anymore. And what happened over the course of 3 months? 10s being let go. 10s. And people who are making their sets, I'm missing Namor. Done. They bought it and it was over. And then what ends up happening now is what he's doing is collecting 9s. And he's close to finishing the 9 set. But I have those conversations every day with people who have to like reevaluate, you know?
So what is the entire set of 9 worth versus an entire set of 10? Like as a whole, it's worth a ton more because it's an entire set of 10s, and that's just astronomical in price. And
what ends up happening here is because a lot of these cards are like Pop 1 to Pop 2, meaning there's only like 2 Gem Mint 10 cards or 1 Gem Mint 10 card type of thing. Yeah, so what ends up happening with a lot of people right now is that the 10 sets are not being sold because a lot of people haven't finished them. So they can't. People who go out for this are not trying to finish it and sell for the most part. Usually flippers and people who are just looking to entry, get in, get out type, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people who are collecting these things are actually collecting them because they want to. So it's not like they're in a rush to finish the set. So there's just patience. But what eventually happens is right now, if someone sells a 9 set, it's obviously going to be lower than a 10 set, maybe like 5x, 10x, who knows? But that X 5, 10, 20x difference is all going to start switching over when it's impossible to find a 10. All of a sudden, the 9 is actually going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because the 10s will never have to surface. That's the trick. What people forget, and you guys know this stuff because you guys are collectors. People forget this stuff does not have to surface. Like certain things, good stuff. Now you guys know what I mean by good stuff, especially you in the comic books, JP, right? You know the good stuff rarely pops up. And if it does, people know. You know what I mean? Like you got you know what I mean? Like you guys understand. So eventually what would happen is because the audience will increase, change in temperament and thresholds and money and all that stuff, eventually things become more expensive, harder to find, deep six, and it becomes
it's like Errol, one guy we've interviewed before, he told me that there are 2 Action Comic ones in the world that are graded 9.0. Those are the 2 highest graded ones in the world. Most valuable comic out there. Both are owned by the same guy, he said. And he said they'll never see the light of day again.
That's what happens. That's what I mean, and that's the scariest part about cards being serial numbered. A lot of people stack, and they stack them. If there's like 25 of the card hard numbered, each card's hard numbered, 1 out of 25, 2 out of 25, 3 out of 25, they grab as many as they can find.
Yeah.
And they don't let them go. I've been part of like helping people. I've been part of brokering deals with people who own cards that were out of 5, and they could ask basically for whatever they wanted. And it's a stupid thing because what ends up happening, people. I remember having this conversation with somebody who was buying this stuff, and they said to me, they were like, and I was telling him, I was like, but this card here is like, this card's this special because of X, 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 X. You know what I mean? Yeah, but is it hard numbered? And I was like, no, it doesn't have to be because it actually has this, this, and this, and this. And they were like, well, how do you tell people that immediately? How do people get value quickly? And they get value quickly by understanding a hard number. So there's this weird hierarchy when it comes to investing, especially serial numbered cards. And that's kind of where the hobby is right now, is that people's value on serial number cards is extremely high. You know what I mean? And I fall prey to it too. Like, I mean, it happens to everybody. Like I bought the green PMG. You know what I mean? This most expensive card I've bought. Like this piece of cardboard here, numbered out of 10, cost me X amount of dollars. And I reasoned it because I couldn't find it. Scarcity, right?
All right.
And what people do, they're not stupid. They say, oh, that's out of 10. Hell, each one's like $200. It just came out. I have tons of money. I'm not going to hurt for it. I'll buy all 3 that I find or anything on eBay. And they just do. And then they use it for trade or they keep it so eventually it just becomes, a pay to play kind of issue, which is a shame, because they're great cards and it's really fun. And, you know how this stuff is. You guys understand this whole stuff.
Yeah, it's the big boy game, I guess, in a sense, because
that's what it becomes.
Yeah. So we should probably get close to wrap it up here as we're coming up on 90 minutes. But Fausto, I want to first, if your answer is no here, it doesn't go any further. But are you a fan of the MCU movies and things like that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so let's get into this real quick. Let's spend a few minutes. Silver Surfer. We're obviously dying to see. Do you have any theories, hopes, how you want this to play out? Like, give us a little take here.
So, okay, real quick, because I know we're running out. So, I am excited about a Surfer film. I really hope Galactus is not a cloud, because I will riot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's 100%. 100%.
100%. I think we can all agree on that. We saw Internals. We saw what they could look like. Galactus is going to be great. They'll handle it well. Silver Surfer being a special presentation type of thing would be fantastic. Those rumors. I think he's going to be played by the guy who is the Norwegian guy from True Blood, the tall guy who's blonde. He was also in Succession. He was
which guy's Succession?
So he's not part of the family. He's in the other company. He's tall guy, blonde hair, Asgard. It's I forget his name. Skinny guy.
Skarsgård?
That's it. I think they're gonna.
I love Succession. That's my favorite show.
That's a great show.
The Northman.
That's it, Northman. I should have said that. I forgot. Yeah. So I think he'll be tapped for Surfer, which would be cool. But I think anybody can be tapped for Surfer, which should be a nice thing. Because Surfer's really a character who's like, who kind of sacrifices himself and becomes, entangled in this moral dilemma of sacrificing planets and having to pick, you know what I mean? Like it's a horrible thing that a person has to do. And I think anybody of any born of anything could play that kind of character and pull off that kind of sadness. You know what I mean? It's very universal. So I'm excited to see that in the mix of it. It broke my heart to watch Endgame and Infinity and see Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner, because like in Infinity, Bruce Banner falls through Doctor Strange's window, but in the book, it's Surfer who falls through Doctor Strange's window. So you should see me in the theater. I was like, just show him already. I was dying because like all these things in the comic books from Infinity Wars and stuff like that, or whatever it is, I kept seeing these moments like Captain Marvel showing up out of space and going through the ship. I was like, that should be Surfer. This is this is like, and I love Captain Marvel. I love all the things they're doing. They're wonderful. But it's funny to see all the Surfer moments being played by other people. So I'm interested to see how they handle Surfer. You know what I mean?
Was the Surfer part of the Secret Wars?
No,
at all?
Galactus was.
But was he part of the 2015 one?
That I don't know.
No.
So that's what I'm wondering, is because they wasted all the good scenes in Endgame that he could have been in.
He could have been in.
And maybe they'll take somebody else out of it to use him in Secret Wars, because I mean the incursion thing I think could be awesome if you do it right, and Surfer can be huge in that and maybe make up for what he missed.
I think they're going to have to go one or two ways with Surfer. It's either going to have to be Harold Surfer, where he's kind of lost his humanity and he's just picking planets and just going for it, kind of like before 48, right? Where Jack Kirby initial thought for Surfer was that he was just an entity. You know what I mean? He was just an entity. He didn't really have a personality or anything. It was Stan Lee who gave him that personality. You know what I mean? 48, 49, 50, that's kind of where you see that. And Surfer 1 is where you really understand who he is as a hero, as a person. So they're either going to go pre-48 and have him just be a total badass and destroying stuff, scary kind of creature, Frankenstein's monster type of thing. Or he's going to be past all that, multiverse, some kind of strange parallel thing where he would be tapped on the shoulder and they're like, who's this peaceful creature, this peaceful person, hanging out like in the Fantastic Four animated series. Remember when he's hanging out with all the animals and stuff like that? I think they'll either catch him there or they'll catch him as a herald.
Well, so the latest rumors I saw this week is that it's, confirmed, we'll say, but the rumor is that the Fantastic Four movie is going to be Galactus and Silver Surfer. So
that's what I heard too.
Do you think maybe Silver Surfer will be the bad guy and then turns into a good guy by the end of the movie?
But that's kind of how the trilogy worked, right? Silver Surfer came, no one knew what he was.
But that's what they did in Rise. Like you can't do the same trick twice. Rise of the Silver Surfer, like he was the bad guy, and then he turned into good. Fantastic Four. Sorry, the Fantastic Four second movie, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Like, but that's not canon. We can just get rid of that stuff and start off fresh, right?
People know. Like, there's an opportunity here. The best stories are told when you meet a character at a point in their story that things have already happened. Right? It's not when things are about to happen that are interesting, right? The best thing about certain MCU movies, like for instance, one of the best MCU movies, which is not canon, I know, is Logan. So one of the best superhero movies ever made is Logan, hands down. In my mind, there's no doubt about this. And it's because we meet Logan, Wolverine, at a stage in his life at the end of it, right? A story that's never really been told. It was told with X-23 in the comic books and stuff like that, but with him at the end of it, you understand all that, all those things that were in his head, all those things that kind of made sense, and all those things he's had to grapple with over the years. That was a very interesting story. If they started from the beginning and introduced Surfer like we've never seen him before, I think they're missing a trick there. They're missing what they can really do with a character of that kind of power, cosmic magnitude. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you're going to miss that moment.
There are so many fans of Surfer that he has to come in right.
Right, exactly. That's why you can't
have to stick this landing with him. They can't.
No, you can't just tell the story. No. You can't do that.
Yeah, he was one of. I mean, again, he wasn't my favorite character, but damn near he was the coolest cosmic guy out there. And I was thinking, for them to pick a guy that's on a surfboard in the cosmic. Like that's just a crazy
Naked dude
ingenuity.
is riding around on a surfboard. Like it's a weird thing, but it's Jack Kirby.
I think about like when
Silver
Surfer Fantastic Four 48 was 1966.
Yeah.
And like I always think how like out of the box that idea
was crazy
was,
out of the box.
right?
Yeah.
Like because you had Superman, he was from another planet, sure, but like this like whole like it was like a totally original new thing, and like it would have been just awesome. Like you used to read the stuff that was in the 60s, and then all of a sudden, bam, you see that you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and he's so simple. He's just silver.
He's just silver.
And he has a surfboard. There's not a whole lot to it.
And then like Surfer 2, when he was like originally made, or like when Mobius drew him, or like Trad Moore, he's not built with muscles. You know what I mean? All this stuff. So I hope they bring it back to kind of just like it's a body, but it's not like super defined. Like I like the idea of him being alien-like more than like, oh, it's a naked dude in silver. You know what I mean? Like
so you kind of like an idea of like was it T-1000 for Terminator 2? Like that kind of liquid kind of.
That was so sad. Do you remember when that movie came out, Judgment Day? I saw that as a kid and I was like, we're this close to having Surfer. Like this close. We have the technology.
Oh yeah, they made him. Yeah, that's right.
With the kids who were had the skateboard or whatever when they were doing the production. Yeah, I remember seeing that as a kid. I was just like, he's right there.
And then you had to wait 10 years and you got the shitty version of him in the Fantastic.
And it's a shame because like Doug Jones killed it. It's a shame the story doesn't have a lot of pacing. It doesn't have a lot of luster, and it's because they didn't want to go full there, right? They didn't want to commit fully, which I understand. It's a scary thing to have a big purple dude with a skirt about to eat a planet. Like that's pretty hard to sell in 2008. I get it. I understand the fear. But with these movies, like Internals was done so brilliantly because it's so cinematic. So by the time you get that marble planet and you get that celestial, like it feels like it makes sense because the scaling is there to match. You know?
Yeah, I think they can definitely do Galactus now. There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about it. I think I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be
somebody brought out a cloud, they would throw tomatoes at the screen. And it'd
be
Marvel
riots, fire, march on Hollywood.
About it because I like Galactus and I always wanted to see him because reading the cards, he was supposed to be 30 stories high, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to see that, and they made him a cloud. And I was like, what the hell? That's a ripoff.
That's a ripoff.
Not only the cloud, they teased you with the silhouette as you like. Did you see Saturn the silhouette? Or something? Yeah, so and so it's like you're in the theater. You're like, oh,
like this close.
But the Surfer was cool though. I mean, overall,
Surfer was cool. Doug Jones, it was
Yeah.
cool, and he killed that. I mean, he totally nailed that role. Lauren Fishburne voiced him, and he totally.
That's who did. That's right. That's right.
They didn't give it to Jones. They never give it to Jones to do the voice acting for some reason until later. But so, yeah, he did a great job with that. The gray suit that he's in, the whole stomach vision thing, that was weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like certain things, and it's because they're, you know, I don't know. Surfer's like it's going to be interesting what they're going to do. And they've had enough practice with it now that it makes sense how it can look. You know what I mean? I can see it. I can see it looking correct. Hopefully.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for it. Yeah, and I hope I hope that if he's in the Fantastic Four movie, they have that storyline, and then the special presentation I hope is like the storyline you get from Silver Surfer 1, right? The origin, like where Galactus shows up to Zen-La and that whole,
Yeah, or even in reverse, like there could be something where like the special presentation is Surfer leading into like maybe he's already saved Earth, or like maybe something's already happened in another multiverse and he has to find the Fantastic Four again. You know what I mean? Like there's so much stuff that can be, because if it's a multiverse situation, that can exist. Like Fox stuff, Rise of the Surfer, that can exist somewhere else, especially since we have Toby and we had Andrew come in. Those stories exist now. So we can just consider Rise as an existing parallel universe, super nerd, and bring it into that way and just have that exist. I don't know. I mean, it makes more sense to do it that way.
I know you mentioned Star Wars earlier, but how long did it take until now for them to bring the stories from the 90s that they wrote the books about? That should have been 7, 8, and 9, in my opinion. It should never have been the movies they made.
Never.
And they finally are going to make them canon. So
and they're
glad that
great. And they're making sense.
And same thing with Surfer. They brought them all in together. Spider-Man, Toby, Andrew, and made them canon.
Yeah.
Said you didn't waste your money or time
Yep.
watching the shows, and make them in a sense basically tweak them to make it better.
And
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
all.
sense. That makes, like, I got such a thrill seeing Spider-Man at the end of the movie in his blue suit, and the blue suit is very comic book, right? And like, remember when he's through the snow and he's swebbing through the buildings and stuff like that, and it feels like Kirby, Steve you know what I mean? It feels like that Spider-Man because the blue feels so comic book accurate. You know what I mean? Like, that was such a good moment to get away from what we've had to create artificially with the movies to make sure, like, leather suits, leather jackets for X-Men, leather spandex, right? And it all of a sudden was like, well, here's the character, what he would look like. You know what I mean? This is how the color would translate. I thought that was a beautiful. I hope that's a glimpse into what they're really thinking for Wolverine. You know what I mean? Like, I think that'd be really cool.
I think there's a lot more they'll be doing, and they haven't peaked yet with Marvel, and neither has DC, but there's plenty more to use because the characters we grew up and loved, Surfer, Wolverine, the X-Men, they haven't been on screen yet in that Marvel way. Again, they had good movies, but had their their downfalls in a sense. So let's see Marvel do it the right way because they've been good so far.
It's gonna be fun. I'm hoping it's just fun. Like, Iron Man was fun. You know what I mean? Like, that first Iron Man movie that started off, it wasn't a movie that was trying to be like, Iron Man can really exist, wink, wink. It was more like, no, here's a character, here's a fun story, and it happens to be Iron Man. That's the mentality that it should be gone into. Because that's where that's where everybody's going to find it entertaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. I'm looking forward to it. So
it'll be cool.
But yeah, I think I learned a lot about cards today. So I do appreciate it. I don't know if I'll probably get online on eBay and trying to find some crazy cards like Rohan's been doing lately, but maybe we'll start buying some 9s and hoping that that pans out someday.
Text me, man. Whatever you guys are gonna get, whatever questions you have, you're free to text me always, man. You guys awesome. Know how to contact me now. Don't be shy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this was awesome, Fausto. Thanks for coming on. Loved having you on. We'll obviously need to have you on again in the future too, as well. So this was fun.
Thank you so much for this, man. This was a blast, dude. I really appreciate hanging out with you guys. It was a really fun talk.
Yeah. Definitely awesome. As always, we go over because this stuff is just too cool not to stop. You got to keep talking. So I appreciate it. So yeah, we'll see everybody in the next pod. Hoping to have Fausto back soon to talk more cards, but hope everyone enjoyed the time. And we'll see everybody next on the 21st episode of Absolute Game of Nerds.
Peace out, guys.
See you later.